I am a weird mix of things, starting with Clowntortionist the most, I suppose. I was 21, so 5.5 years ago. I was in the strip club circuit and I was performing around the Northwest, primarily just doing shifts and traveling, but I did several entertainer showcases where you're kind of the featured performer and you go on stage a couple of times a night and do an act. And I was really talented with pole skills and stuff, and I had entered a few pole talent competitions. So I started integrating contortion into that because I was highly flexible. And then I became somewhat well known in the Pacific Northwest for being the pole tortionist. I had always wanted to join the circus, and I got an opportunity to do more circus arts. And when I started doing that, because I had been a stripper for so long, I thought that transitioning would be easier if I had like white face on or something, so I wasn't doing the same mentality of the same technical movements, but with a much different and more erotic intention for so long that I wanted to remove. So the white face kind of turned into just being a clown over time. But it was really just kind of a protective mask like we all have, and then it ran away with itself. And I held off of it for a long time, but I'm actually a third-generation stripper. So I guess it was a little bit in my blood. That's how my parents met, actually, was in a strip club. The way that it was introduced to my life and the way that I had a predisposition for it and the other chances I would have had in this world without it, that I'm really, really grateful for it. I think that if I had been given proper opportunities and access to education and mental health care at a younger age, that it wouldn't have been necessary. But I think the fact that it's necessary doesn't demean the quality that it can provide to people and the important role that it plays in women who don't have access to education being able to work for themselves and set their own hours and make a decent amount of money without working themselves to the core, you know, being able to spend time with their children and stuff and go to college. Many of them were actually saving up for college or going to college. There's all walks of life there, and every stereotype exists for a reason, but it was definitely more positive than not, but a huge personal battle. So many times where I judged people for knowing a stripper, for dating a stripper that I had never met or whatever, where I was like, damn, I was a fucking asshole. I would say that about half of the women that I've met in the sex industry at all are open about being abused. I have met a handful of dancers who have never been sexually assaulted or never dealt with anything like that. But I think what stands out about that is I did it for 5 years and it was a handful, and every time I was like, really? No one ever touched you? Like, really? And they're like, no. And that in and of itself is shocking. So I think that it's a commonality, but also without, I think, experiencing those hard times, it's a very tough job, and it's not a matter of if, but when will you be assaulted again. And it's not that it's necessary full-on illegal assault, but people can say something that'll catch you off guard and be very hurtful, you know? Strip clubs are not a safe place for sex-positive, you know? Go to therapy. I didn't, but I should. Get my meds, at least some medication is good. I'm on the Zoloft right now, it's okay. Do what you gotta do.
So you have tried medication?
Yeah, I was very, very afraid of medication for my whole life. Everyone in my family told me I was crazy. I was kind of the marked child, if you will. And it turns out I was, and all I needed was some medical attention, like anybody would for having, you know, the broken leg, blah, blah, blah. And now that I'm on meds, and I feel lucky to have found a decent mix for my first try, even though it's an ongoing thing, it's made a huge difference into whether I can get out of bed or not in the morning. And I feel like it's really a shame that it's so put down upon and people who are written off as just calls them crazy and doesn't try to help them. And even as a child, my family was like, well, you're crazy, so you're fucked up. And I'm like, well, I'm 8 and maybe I am crazy, but maybe we should like do something about this. And it's very frustrating to know that I was so against meds because I didn't want to be seen as a crazy person, and how quickly and easily and greatly they worked and affected me, and how I almost dislike how much they work, because it's like, damn, is it really, not that it's that easy or that it's made a world of difference or anything, but it has made a world of difference. Not solved all my problems, but it has made a world of difference. And I'm kind of bittersweet about it because I'm grateful for the opportunity to get better. I'm mad that people put so much on my mental instability that was mostly people being abusive anyway, and not simply helping me, and how easy it was to find a solution, and it took this long to find it. Therapy is really important, and I know that therapy is like a long journey, and an important one. But sometimes you're on the brink and you're like, I don't have another choice and I can't get 9 years of therapy right now, you know? So meds were kind of a last chance option. And I know that they're a baseline and not an answer to everything, but they've made such a difference. And I almost hate to admit it, you know?